Okay, shall we get started? Hold on, let me make sure I'm on speakerphone. Hello? Hello, I hope you hear me. I can't figure out if... Yeah, I'm on speakerphone. Okay, that's good. This is on. We're all ready to go. Good Yom Tov, everyone. And welcome to the Dvar Malchus class, weekly Dvar Malchus class. Okay, last week we were learning the bulk of the Parshas, the amazing Parshas Vayeishev, Sicha of Tafshin Nun Beis, Giluyim Neflayim, unbelievable revelations. And as it seems like to me that this is historic. This Sicha is historic in the fact that this Sicha seems to be fulfilling exactly what the Medrash says is going to be a dialogue between the Yidden and Mashiach Tzidkenu when Mashiach comes. That Mashiach comes and says the Geula is coming, and the Yidden say, well, how can it happen? And Mashiach gives them two answers. If you read the Sicha, you can see mamish the two answers of the Medrash are discussed in the Sicha. And the beautiful thing is that as I mentioned to you last week, or 2 weeks ago, that in Parshas Vayishlach, not Vayishlach, Yutes Kislev, the Sicha printed right before this, the Rebbe mentions this Medrash that talks, when the Rebbe says, Hinei zeh melech HaMashiach ba, the Rebbe points to this Medrash, and I wasn't even like, I went and I looked up the Medrash, not even knowing, and then this is the Medrash, and then you see the dialogue happening in the next Sicha. So it's really unbelievable. In any case, let's just go back to what we're learning over here. The main theme, again, this Sicha had nothing to do with Parshas Vayeishev. It was in general talking about, the Rebbe was talking about the idea that where do we see that the world is ready for Mashiach? And he said that the coming of Mashiach is dependent on Tikkun Olam, on the Tikkun of the entire world. And he said that what's unique about our generation is that this is the only time in history that Jews have actually been dispersed across the entire world. It used to be that Yidden lived closer to Eretz Yisrael, to Yerushalayim, closer to Eretz Yisrael. And then they moved farther and farther, but on our generation, the Rebbe says it was an explosion as Jews reached the farthest places, Australia, and all over, in America, and that's a bitter of the tikkun of the entire world. And the Rebbe goes into an interesting idea that that it's not enough when you go to a place to pass by that country, but it requires that we get involved in every country and observe our Yiddishkeit with the unique flavor, utilizing the unique characteristics and social, what do you call it, the character of any given country. And only that way do we really, really elevate the kishkis of that country. Do we get into its inner heart and soul and elevate it into Kedusha. And then the Rebbe said that we see, that's in general, but we see the Iker Inyan is in Tzarfas, because the Rebbe brought that in Parshas Vayishlach, the Haftorah for Parshas Vayishlach, mentions all the way in the end of it that the Yidden are going to come back from Tzarfas. The Golus, that the Yidden went to Tzarfas, went to France, they're going to come back from France. And the Rebbe says, why do we emphasize France? So he says, because there's something unique about the tikkun and the completion of the Birur Olam with France. And what's the Inyan? So he said, and he brought a whole long explanation, we learned it last week, how that France was always considered the most dangerous klipa, to the point that the king of Kedusha, it's the Alter Rebbe, the king of holiness in his generation, the Nasi Hador, the Alter Rebbe, founder of Chassidus Chabad, unbelievable Alter Rebbe. And the Alter Rebbe was scared of the klipa of Tzarfas, of France. When Napoleon came, the Alter Rebbe ran away. And as the Rebbe brought from the Mittler Rebbe, he was such an apikoros, he was such an atheist, he was such an unbeliever. The Alter Rebbe didn't even want to be in the same country like he was. The Alter Rebbe ran away, and at kedei kach, that on just from a simple natural state, it seems like that was the cause of the Alter Rebbe's passing away. The Gashmias, of course, no one. The Gashmias it was because he fell ill as he escaped Napoleon. It was a very cold winter, and the Alter Rebbe fell ill. And basically the Alter Rebbe was Ma'aser Nefesh. not to be impacted by Napoleon. Okay, that was the days of the Alter Rebbe. Why? Because the Rebbe explained, because France, and really it was the French Revolution that brought about the enlightened Western, the world, which was based a lot on, not America, but the French Revolution, brought about a freedom, but if freedom itself would be good, but the freedom was connected to liberating oneself from any kind of authority, even godly authority, throwing off the yoke of heaven as well. And that would, if Chas v'Shalom, that would happen to the Jewish, that kind of sense would come into Russia, it would wreak havoc on observance in Russia. Yidden weren't ready yet for that kind of a liberty and that kind of freedom, and yet remain devoted and dedicated to the Eibishter. That's what's such a big chiddush, by the way, in Bisman Hazeh, that we see that Yidden are living in free countries, we're totally free, we're on the place, and yet, without oppression, we're still practicing and observing Torah mitzvahs, which is, by the way, a huge, huge thing. A lot of observance had to do with the fact that Yidden lived in ghettos, we lived separated, the guy didn't want to look at us, he spit in our face, we were. So the fact that we're Jewish today, even though we have choices, that's the Jews didn't have choices. And now Jews really have choices. And yet, we're Yidden. That's a tremendous milestone. But Al Kapanim, the Alter Rebbe felt that if this sense of freedom would come into Russia, it would God forbid, destroy the Russian Jewry and Chlal, Polish Jewry and the like. And therefore, the Alter Rebbe fought Napoleon tooth and nail until he actually brought about the victory over Napoleon. Even though this meant physical hardship and brutal oppression that came as a result of the Tsar having his continued ruthless rule in Russia. Okay. But the Rebbe says, take a look at the tremendous change. After generations of observance, of learning Chassidus and serving the Eibishter, so many times we were able to get a foothold into France. And the Rebbe explained last week, we learned how the Rabbeim slowly started moving into France. The first three Rabbeim, not really, but the fourth Rebbe, the Rebbe Marash, already went to France. And we know he made a few Baal Tshuva, the Rebbe said over there. And then the Rebbe Rashab came there a few times and said Chassidus. And actually the kernel of the entire Hemshech of Ayin Beis came to him when he was in France. And I think he actually wrote some of his Chassidus of Ayin Beis in France. So that's already the beginning of this tikkun of the French. And finally the Rebbe says it was primarily through the Friediger Rebbe, who sent shluchim over there. And here's where the Rebbe, interesting notes, he says not only sent shluchim, but of his own family, so meaning himself. And when these people came to France, and they were oisik in observance, in a manner of halach ben amuseh, which means they did it in a French way. It wasn't in a way remaining outside of French culture. They took on the French, whatever, the Rebbe keeps on saying, what is al pi halacha permitted, and then in that way they served the Eibishter. And that brought about tremendous change in France, which people were afraid that there was such anti-Yerushalayim in France. The Rebbe says, take a look. Now we have yeshivas, and we have so much Torah, we have so many Baal Tshuva, we have so much Yiddishkeit flourishing in France, unbelievable. Something that was unthinkable in the days of the Alter Rebbe. And that's kibush, that's the transformation. When Yidden come to a country and build yeshivas and Torah institutions, that's a kibush. That's a transformation. And the ultimate kibush, the Rebbe says, is two things, and this is very important for what we're going to learn today. Two things. Stage number one is that we infiltrated France and we brought mashpiyim from the old Europe, from Russia. We brought in holiness from the outside, and that influenced France. That's the first level. But then even a deeper level, that the French community, Jewish community, became so strong that they're substantial, they're self-sustaining. They don't need the inspiration coming from the outside. They have already a certain independence where they're so fortified in their Yiddishkeit that they can stand on their own feet. And that's the ultimate effect. That's what we learned up till now. And it's interesting. The Rebbe connected, before we're going to learn inside, I just want to re-emphasize one interesting point. the Rebbe emphasizes that the revelation of this, they started doing a lot of work, but it was all kind of quiet. The full-blown revelation happened after the Friediger Rebbe came to America, which is, in other words, the Nasi Hador left the Chatzi Kader Elyon, and he came to Chatzi Kader Atachton, which means the lower half of the globe. That means that koiches were given to rectify and to elevate and to sublimate the lower parts of creation, which even though France is not in the lower half of the globe, but it still represents the lower half of creation. So when the Nasi Hador came to America and he made this his seat of operations, from there light goes out to the entire world, there's a certain advantage and a certain empowerment that the Jewish people never had before, that we can reach and elevate the lowest of the low. Similar to the story of the Parsha now, that Yosef HaTzadik went down to Mitzrayim to elevate. And the Friediger Rebbe's name is Taka Yosef. I mentioned this last week. Interesting, I'm going to, by the way, okay, so I gave you a bunch of copies today, because I failed to give you some of the copies we learned last week. We're starting today on page 135, even though I sent you some earlier copies, but we're starting on page 135, Perek Ches. I just want to share with you Ha'ara 43. This is actually not the Rebbe's Ha'ara himself, but whoever, those who published it, make a very interesting observation. L'hoyer medivrei harabanes hatzidkanes, Maras Chaya Mushka. They're being to notice the words of the Rebbetzin, the Shmas Eden. La'achas ma'ashluchos to Medina Sarfas. She said it to one of the shluchos from France. She said in Yiddish, Miram geackert and gezeit, in ihr darf schneiden. We plowed and sowed, and you just have to harvest. In other words, the real groundwork was done. The real war against the ferocious klipa of France was spiritually, and then, of course, from the spiritual into the physical, done during the years that the Rebbe and the Rebbetzin were there. In other words, they took on France, this low bidder, and from there they did this rectification. Okay, now we're holding Tzif Ches. Now the rest of the Sikh is just unbelievable, and so applicable to our time that we're in right now. So pay attention here. The Yeshlaima, we can say Shadavar Zeh, that this inyan beprata shnei inyanim elu shebebira. This inyanim, specifically these two inyanim that we're talking about in this birur. Number one, birur atachten. The first stage in birur is that we do a birur, we infiltrate the tachton, the low, but in a manner where this low place remains a low place, which means in it on its own, it doesn't have a connection to the Eibishter. It needs people that are above it and higher to constantly infuse it with a godly awareness. But if the teacher goes away, if the mashpia goes away, it's like lighting a candle, and the light, the nair, the one that's lighting it, has to stand by the other candle the whole time to keep it burning. That's stage number one. Stage number two is like the Rebbe would always say, Shal Heves Olam Ha'aleh, that the mashpia can go away, and the fire has taken on the new wick, and it's burning on its own. It doesn't need the constant transfer of fire from candle A to candle B. And that's the second in. And that is Gilui Etzem B'Tachton. The Gilui, that the Tachton itself, the essence of the Tachton, that the Tachton too, its essence is holy. In a manner where the Tachton himself, the lowly place, in this case France, becomes one with the one above, with the higher place, which we're going to see in a minute what that means. So the Rebbe says, this inyan merum is gam betevas tzarfas. It's merum it's indicated both these inyanim. First of all, that France is low, and it's when we reach France, we finally reached by us coming down from a high place, from Eretz Yisroel, shining godly light into the diaspora across the entire world, reaching the farthest places. When we reach France, we hit rock bottom. That's number one. That's hinted to in the name France, and also that that dafka in France is where we uncover the etzem, as we're soon going to see, the essence of godliness, and the essence of the Eibishter is the truth of the whole world, even of the lowest point, and that's the second stage. And when you uncover that, then it can stand on its own feet. So let's see. Tzarfas u'maloshin tzeruf. The word tzarfas comes from the word of tziruf. Tziruf means purification, refinement. Which expresses. So since, again, we're talking about refining the world, doing a tziruf on the world, a tziruf, a birur, and a purification of the world, tzarfas itself means tziruf. Like it says in regarding to the Geula, Yizbaradu will be refined, V'yislabnu, and will be whitened, V'yitzarfu rabim, and everybody will be purified. So this Yitzarfu is a lashon to be cleansed. Sha'agula harehu ba, al yedei shleimus abirir v'atziriv shakala olam. The Geula comes through the shleimus, through the completion of the purification and the rectification of the entire world, Keniskali el Sif Aleph. And when do we know we're done? When France is filled with Yiddishkeit, we know we're done. Okay. Now, to further express this idea, that the reason why France is called Tzarfas is because this is the shleimus, the completion of the tziruf. When we get to France, we know we're holding by Z already. We went through all the ABC, and we're holding by Z already, and therefore, for sure, we've reached Tachton She'in Tachton Lamata Memenu, the lowest place, and now the Eibishter's light. We can turn on the lights already and see Kedusha, filling the entire planet. But there's another Inyan. The same Inyan is also expressed in the Gematria of Tzarfas. So Lahoisif, and to add, Al Derech HaTzachos V'Haremez, Tzarfas, Igam B'Gematria, Sheva Meyos V'Shivim. France is the Gematria of 770. Now, what's the significance of the number 770? See, because Taf and Reish, Taf is 400, Reish is 600. And then you got another Tzaddik is 90, 690. And then another 80, 690 plus 80, 770. So he begamatria Sheva Meis Reshivim, 770. Shleimus, so what does this 770 mean? And what's its significance regarding what we just spoke about, the shleimus of the rectification of the world? We know that the world is a world of 7. Nature is 7. Space is 7. 6 directions, and the center. The Eibishter time is also 7. The 7 days of the week, and we also have systems of 7. 7 years. The Shemitah, everything piles in layers of 7. 7 colors of the rainbow. 7 music notes. 7 continents. 70 nations. 7 nations in Eretz Yisroel. Everything, all of creation is built 7 skies. All of creation is built in a system of 7. So when we say we purified all the 7, and it's all based on the 7 midos, when we say that we purified the 7, and that's why, by the way, a person's neshama comes down into the world, generally we say a lifetime is 70 years. Because since your avodah is to be mavar the world, beginning with your own 7 midos of your nefesh habahamis, so that's 70 years, based on the rule on 7. 770 is 7 completed. Because first it's 7 times 10, because we know in each sphera there is really all 10 spheroids. Even though in the bulk spheroids we're counting mainly the 7, because we're occupying with the spheroids that are related to the world, which is the lower 7. The 3 Moich Chabad is above the creation. So it's the 7, but them themselves, those 7 midos, have 10 spheroids in it, so that's 70. And then, if you really, really get into the next, the grandchildren, okay, there is the spheroids itself is 7. The children is 70, because you're looking at the details. And then you look at the next level, the 10 spheroids of the 7, and you make that times 100, because you have 100 times 7, so that gives you 700. So you have 700, 7 to the, where you have this, the birur in, what you might say, Chachma, let's say in Chesed. So it's in Chachma Sheba Chesed, and in Bina Sheba Chesed, each one. And then you have Chachma Sheba Chesed, something like that. So you go through the birur completely, thoroughly, on all levels, you get 100. Then you add the middle tier, the 70, and you end up with 770. So it's reaching the 7, but not just reaching the 7. It's a very thorough permeating all the details, all the subcategories and subcategories of the 7. And that's why Tsarfas, which is Gematria 770, represents completing the fixing in the world in all crevices of creation, in all aspects. Getting into the 70 nations and getting into the kishkis of the 70 nations. Which is the complete number of 7. Like each one is included from 10, which is Shivim. And afterwards, each one is included from 100, Shva Meyos. Then you combine them together, Shva Meyos for Shivim, 770. This thing is hinting to when we do a birur in France, the Nigmar v'nishlam birur kol ha'olam. We finished the tziruf. We completed the tziruf that we need to do in all levels of 7. Shenivra b'shivas yemei abinyan, which was created in the 7 days of creation. B'chol ha'pratim, with all the details, that's the 70. U'pratei ha'pratim, and that's the details of the details, that's the 700. And together it's details and details of details, so you have 770. Okay, so this indicates what? How the oil of Kedusha, the light of holiness, has burrowed through every klippa and has gotten all the way down, as we said earlier, to rock bottom, all the way to the very end, to Tzarfas. But now the Rebbe says there's another Indian over here. What did we say earlier? It's not just enough to pour holiness down, or to shine a laser beam of Kedusha all the way down to a low place. The ultimate is that the Tachton itself should be nishapach, should be transformed to Kedusha, to holiness. And that's the next Indian. Yisayr Mizan, and in addition to this, 770, who mispar habayis shall kvoid Kedushas Mariuchami Admon Asidarenu. 770 is the Rebbe's house. The Friediger Rebbe's house, and the Rebbe's shul, and the Rebbe's place. In which the Friediger Rebbe lived and did his avodah in 10 years, the last 10 years of his life. But Artzes Abris, when he was in America, Chatzi Kader Atachtim, which is this lower part of the world, which, as we said earlier, is the koyach to rectify. And we can say in this, what's the connection? So France is 770, this is 770, because the two are really connected. Who gives the koyach to elevate the entire creation? The toughest part of the world, who gave the koyach to be able to, as we said earlier, the Alter Rebbe, in his days, the klipa was still so strong, we didn't have the koyachas yet. The Jewish people haven't mustered up enough koyach, and the klipa hasn't yet been thinned out enough to be able to beat it. But two things happen as we continue our avodah of Torah and mitzvahs. We become more robust with holiness because we've accumulated generations, and like we say, the idea of the midget on the giant's shoulders. We have accumulation of so much extra holiness, so our power, we became like this mighty muscle man. And Kalippa has been thinned out more and more and more till it's ready to be able to take on the lowest place. But that Nasinas Koyach has to come from where? The Yeshloimer, we can say, Shazam Ramaz al Inyan Hasheni, Hanayla Shebebir V'tziruf. This is indicating on the second inyan of the bitter and the tziruf. Noisef ala bitter shel atachtem biyoser. In addition, that we have a bitter on that which is the lowest, aval ba'oifim, but in a manner shenisher tachton be'erech le'elyon, where it remains a tachton. It remains a lowly place in compared to the one above. In other words, it remains low, and there is a holiness that's shining into it. But now there's a bigger chiddush, that it itself becomes 770. That means the holiness of 770 fills France, not in a manner that it's shining from New York, from 770 in New York, but that the entire France itself becomes 770. That's the Nakud. Why? As the Rebbe is going to say soon, 770 is the Gilui of Atzmos. It's the Gilui of the essence of the Eibishter. That's what the Rebbe is. Rebbe is Gilui of Atzmos. And it's only the power of, once Atzmos is revealed, Atzmos is the etzem of everything. We're going to get to that in a moment. So Dafka 770, which is the Gili of Atzmos and Mahus in this world, which is the Shleimus of Dira B'Tachtainim, Dira La'atzmus, the Dira to the Ebershter's essence. And where is that first reveal itself in 770? as we're going to learn Be'ez Hashem further, that the Beis HaMikdash, the Rebbe says, the ultimate Beis HaMikdash, Hashlishi, reveals itself first in 770, because that's Gilui of Atzmos. The Gilui in the Beis HaMikdash Hashlishi in Yerushalayim is coming from the fact that the Eibush has a Dira b'Tachtainim. So you have to first be in Tachtainim, in the lowest place. So this Gilui of Atzmos in 770 then later reveals itself in the lowest place in the world, having its own light and its own Kedusha, the essential holiness. Shehu nase kamoya etzem. That France becomes like the essence 770 atzmoi. Habaya shel nasi dareinu. It becomes like the house of the Nasi Adar. Mekoira shel afatzas hamayonas, who is the source of this afatzas hamayonas chutza, bizman azem, this time, b'chol katzvi tevel, in all the places of the world. V'yesh lohis, if we can add. Shen inyan zeh nimtza bat gasha yasera. This is, in a sense, you can say, if I can add my little 2 cents over here. It's the difference of the Friediger Rebbe and the Rebbe. The Friediger Rebbe, his inyan is Yosef, his inyan is Yesoid. Since his inyan is Yesoid, what's the inyan of Yesoid? The 6th Sphira. Its inyan is to pour Getlichkeit down, as far as you can go. Yosef Hurad Mitzrayim. Yosef brings Yaakov's light down to Mitzrayim. But there is still a certain sense of we're bringing holiness from the outside. That's what you see by the Friediger Rebbe. If you see in the Friediger Rebbe's Sichos, it's a really astounding thing. You can see that such a difference between the previous Rebbe and the Rebbe. The Friediger Rebbe in his Sichos I don't want to say complains a lot, but really does, that, it used to be better. I remember the old days when Chassidim were Chassidim. What's going on with Chassidim today? They're not Chassidim. They're not, there's so much complaining and frustration about, because the Friediger Rebbe is reminiscing the days of old. So there's a certain plugging into what once was. The Rebbe is a whole different story. You never see the Rebbe complain. The Rebbe is driving us, but not in a way of complaining of what once was. The Rebbe is always like, the Rebbe sees always, the Rebbe is an opportunist. He sees every opportunity, new opportunities, new abilities, powers that the earlier generations didn't have, things that we have. He went and he took the hippies of America and turned them into the most powerful Baalei Tshuva and transforming powers and so on and so forth. That's a whole different inyan. That's the inyan of what the Rebbe is saying over here, that each place, it's not you're bringing holiness, but the Tachtoin is Tachtoin, but you're uncovering the essence of the Tachtoinim. And the essence of the Tachtoin is Eibishter. And that expresses itself in the character of every Tachtoin. If you're bringing holiness from another place, so the nature of that holiness is more remaining kind of similar to what it once was. But if you're uncovering the holiness that's in the lowly place itself, then it's going to be flavored with the flavor of that country, or of that place, of that nationality. And the Rebbe adds that over here. This is the halech ben emusei. That when you, not only when you go into a country, you do something, you're bringing the old shtetl in. Halech ben emusei. You're utilizing the ways of that country. We use the tchunas, the characteristics of this place itself. You're being megala the essence shall atzmus of the essence of the Eibishter b'makam zeh in this place. But oifen in a manner shem murgish, it is sensed shaham makim nasa atzmai, that the place itself becomes self-sustaining. B'chol inyani Torah mitzvahs, and all matters of Torah mitzvahs doesn't need a mashpia, because it itself, from its very nucleus, from its very inner being, is elokus, is getlach. Al derech hamayla, just like we say in Chassidus, that there's a certain quality that Gashmias has over Ruchnias. What's the mila that Gashmias has over Ruchnias? Gashmias is the ultimate concealer. It blocks, it conceals godliness more than anything else. But Hagufa gives Gashmias a certain mila that Ruchnias doesn't have. Everything spiritual is inherently attached to a mashpia. The idea of a Ruchni is that it acknowledges, recognizes, and it's open to a flow from a higher state, and therefore it always tells you the story of what once was. That's Ruchni. The nature of Ruchni is Ila v'olol. Everything is always, it has a cause, it has a siba mesuviv. Gashmias, as the Alter Rebbe says, is mitziyusay matzmusay. It gives off an existence as if it exists without any source. So on the one hand, it's the biggest klip. It denies God completely. It's the biggest apikoros, Gashmias. It claims there is no Eibishter. I don't need anything. But ultimately, Gashmis has the ultimate secret. Because Gilui of Atzmos, the only one who doesn't have a source and doesn't need anything to create him, is the Eibishter. All the Ruchnistige levels need something generating it, so it's dependent on a previous power. But Atzmos doesn't need that. So Gashmis has, the Chassidus always says this, Gashmis has that Maila, Gilui Atzmos is in Gashmis. The real secret of Gashmis is because Gashmis is Megala Atzmos, and Atzmos doesn't need anything. That's why the Gashmi feels that it doesn't need anything. But here the Rebbe is using it, Benegate to Kedusha. When you have a country or a place that can now stand on its own feet and it doesn't have to be constantly fed inspiration from another place, but it itself, that's a Gilui of Atzmos. Since it's makar, it's from Atzmos, it's Mitzius is from himself, and he doesn't come from anything that comes before it. The Yesh Leiman, now the Rebbe is going to combine these two inyanim. Which two inyanim? The fact that Dafka, the lowest place, like France, which the gematria of 770 of France, Sarfas, which is gematria 770, represents bringing Kedusha down to the lowest place, the Soif Kol HaBirurim, the end of all Birurim, number one. And that it's connected to 770, which 770 is Gili of Atzmos. These two inyanim are connected. Because when you're dealing with a birur, when any kind of rectification, any kind of purification, if the purification is coming from a oyer, from a giloi, from some kind of a godly revelation, which is shining into a place in order to inspire it, in order to get it excited, in order to make it aware of the Eibishter. So you're gonna end up with a situation that there are those beings that are birurable or more birurable, and there are those in Yanim that are less birurable, meaning things that are. You see it in every situation. You're gonna have in your Chabad house a group of people coming for an event. So there are those that are more receptive, because they're more spiritual and they're looking for something deeper. They can hear it in your ruchni. And there are those who come, because you gave sushi and cake and they enjoy that. But they don't hear you, anything spiritual it's not really speaking to them. Because they're dense, they're coarse, or denser, or coarser. And then there's something that is so dense it can't receive any light, because light can't penetrate it. So when you're influencing through an outside influence, you're limited on how far you can go. There's a certain point where you say, Ad Paisavai, until here I can come and I can't go further. So then the lowest tachton, you can't fix that way. In order to fix tachton, she'ain tachton l'matma, the courses, in this case France, you can't be ma'oirer the nitzutz. You can't through some light. It's only the gilui. When you're megala atzmos mahus, the essence of the Eibishter is the essence of everything. Even the Tachten Shein Tachten, it can't. The Rambam says, Kol hanimtsoim loy nimtzu elam amitas imatzai. All of existence doesn't have an existence other from the truth of God's existence. So when the essence, not some revelation of Hashem, the essence of the Eibishter is revealed, then it has to, then even the lowest doesn't become inspired with godliness. And here's a very important word, which I think really captures it. It doesn't become inspired by Elokus, it becomes synchronized with Elokus. Synchronized means be'etzem, it clicks with Getlichkeit. Not from any kind of an inspiration. The coarsest of the coarse, the lowest of the low, can't be inspired. But if you can open it up to its essence, so it will naturally synchronize with its essence. And it will be the way the Eibishter wants it to be. And that's what the Rebbe is saying. In order to affect the birur of that which is the lowest, only the koyach of the etzem, of the essence, is able to do that. From the levels of giluyim, over there there's a difference between the upper and the lower. You need a keli. So you can draw godliness down to a place that's mukhshar, a place that's a keli. Ma'ashen came b'koyach ha'etzem, which isn't the case with the koyach of the etzem, shalamayla me'elyon v'tachten, It's above low and high and low. Efsher levarer litzarif, because the etzem doesn't have high and low. Etzem is the essence of everything. Efsher levarer litzarif, you can refine and elevate. Afilu makim tachton she'en keli, even a tachton that's not a keli. Vad Yisrael is even more than that. Lahamshich sham es etzem atzmoi, to be megala over there, the essence itself. V'chein gam leidach. On the other hand, it's also it works the other way. Dafka, when you get to rock bottom, and you're kind of stuck at rock bottom, and you have no other choice, it forces you to dig to your etzem. It's two things. Only with your etzem can you penetrate the lowest of the low, or the other way. When you're in the lowest of the low, dafka over there, it's megala v'etzem. Dafka b'mtzas amakam achi tachten. Dafka through the medium of the lowest place, mizgala etzem, it reveals the essence. Asher poyeles habirur b'chala olam, that does the birur in the whole world. And there you go. That's the difference between the Rebbe and and in a sense, Chabad in general is etzem. That's the chiddush of Chassidus Chabad. It's the etzem of Pnimius HaTorah. It's not a ray. It's not a ha'or. It's not a gilui. And that's why the Alter Rebbe's Chassidus has a certain potency and a power over all Chassidus, and that's why it's lasting. Take a look at 9 generations after the Baal Shem Tov, and even though you have Chassidish Kreisen, but there's a certain, like the essence of Chassidus carried through in Chabad stronger than anywhere else, because it's essence, number one. But in Chabad itself, there's a very big, because the Rabbeim are connected to the Spherois, Malchus, which is the 7th, is Giluya Etzem. Malchus is related, like we say, Malchus is Mushrish and Keser, and Atzmus higher than all the other spheres. So therefore, Dafke in the 7th generation by the Rebbe, we can be Megala, the Etzem of everything. And therefore, even the lowest below can be elevated. And that's the idea of France. And by the way, maybe the Rebbe says it over here, but he says it in other places. That's the same why that Tzarfas 770 is also Gematria Paratzta lecha peretz, because that's the Paratzta means you break open it blasts open every resistance. There isn't possible, nothing is in its way. Believable in a manner that it bursts, the dam bursts. What bursts? When you uncover the etzem, Elokus bursts open everywhere. And where does that come from? 770. That's Gematria Paratzta. That's the Faratzta Yom of Akedma. When the Eibishter told Yaakov Avinu Faratzta Yom of Akedma, who did the Eibishter mean? He meant the Lubavitcher Rebbe, because until the Lubavitcher Rebbe, there wasn't Faratzta Yom of Akedma Tzafayin of Anegma. Elokus was not experienced in the entire world. Or there were places where, the Rebbe brought us to a place. There isn't one place where there's no Kiddush. Holiness everywhere. There's no such a thing, a frontier that we can't reach. A place where Chabad hasn't touched or can't reach. If we haven't technically gotten there, we have technically gotten there. But Be'etzem, the koyach is there to get everywhere. That's the koyach of Etzem. And it expresses itself that when you can take a place like France that is so resistant and so unholy, and even make France a makam of holiness, the ultimate koyach of 770. Unbelievable stuff. 770. Gilui of Etzem of the Eibishter is able to be Megala, the essence, and therefore it can take the coarsest elements and synchronize them with holiness. Because inspiration, no matter how high it is, seichel, this, that, won't go there. Because it's too coarse to be able to receive it. So Bista will also understand the shleimus of the entire world in the Geula. With Sarfas, we will complete. And what happens next? The next pasuk after it says about Sarfas and that of Torah, we will go to be Shoifet Har Esav, V'hoisel Hashem Amlucha, and Hashem will be the kingdom. Tluya, Oba, it's dependent. Uba Lidei Bitoy, it comes to expression. Bebirur b'derech islapshus, in the bitter, in a manner of islapshus, shall galus Sarfas. And Bechlal, if you took a look at the Rebbe, the way the Rebbe dressed when the Rebbe was friends, it's very modern in the early days. This is part of this idea of halach ben Musay. You go into it. It's mamash amazing. The Rebbe had a certain look then, right? To the point that the Chassidim couldn't figure out who he was. They didn't know he's the Rebbe's son-in-law, but whoever was a Panini was able to see, but in any case, Tluya comes through the bitter of Slav. The two inyanim that we said earlier. Since it's the lowest placed. Nifal al yada gamar v'shleimus abirudim shakala olam. Number one, since it's the lowest place, and Kedusha has to arrive everywhere in order for Mashiach to come. So it's Kemenumas b'shem tzarfas malash and tziruf abira. There's a tziruf and a bira. Number two, bebira shel tzarfas. When we rectify tzarfas, begamatria 770 merumiz, it's also indicating gam hagilui, also the power, the revelation. Shenoisen es hakoyach levarer es kol enyanim. What's the koyach to rectify the entire world? It's 770. B'shleimus. Now we all understand it's not the building of 770. It's the one who lives in 770. It's the Rebbe. Adla oifen shabachol makom makom mamshichem es gilu ya'etzem. To the point that everywhere we're mamshich the gili of the etzem. I'm taking a little of a liberty. I want to finish this today, and I have something very amazing to, because it's hey tevis. So if we have a few minutes extra fabring, and I hope you'll be meichel me. For those who need to wrap up, the recordings are there, and if you need to leave, then you can always listen tomorrow, whenever it is. I know for some of you it's even later. So you can listen in and listen the rest tomorrow. It will be on YouTube and the like. Okay, and anyways, we're holding Sifyot. In order to make it easier for a Jew. We see an amazing thing that expresses in a revealed way to our physical eyes this transformation that we affected in France. The Rebbe says, I'm going to show you something amazing. And this is also going to be the answer for these who complain. How come today's days we don't see miracles? Like in the early generations. Which we're going to say now, it will be a one sign of a miracle. It shows that this taina, that there's no miracles, is refuted. You do a mefursim, it is known. Every country has its nigun, its unique song. Just like the flag. Every country has a flag, every country has a song. The national anthem. Which that's what they sing in any kind of a gathering or any kind of an official occurrence. Or like when the residents of the country gather together yachtov. In various different official gatherings. When the representatives of the country, ambassadors, or wherever it is, or the prime minister or the president of a country goes to a different country, they're going to receive him. There's going to be a parade, and they're going to receive this important person, and they're going to play if the president of the United States goes to China, the Chinese marching bands are going to play the American "Oh Say Can You See," because to give honor to America. That's the way it is. Okay, and it's understood. That the song of the country meyatzek dugma shel Medina represents a dugma. It represents represents the country. Particularly when it comes to the song of France, because we can see it, and particularly in France, because as we know, as Rebbe explained earlier in the Sikha, France changed. For many, many, many years, from its early history and during most of its history, it was under the rule of the monarchy, of the kings. And then at the revolution, it changed. So this song, which is the song, the French national anthem, was actually composed at the time of the revolution. So you see that the song is the soul of that revolution. It's the soul of modern day France. As it is known, that this song was invented at the time, or was composed at the time of the revolution. And specifically, if we look a little bit deeper, how do you do it? Is known to every big country, every great nation, they have a minister above, a ministering angel. And the song of the country is related to that ministering angel above. It's not just a physical phenomenon, it's rooted deep in the soul characteristic of the country. Which was this song that was chosen by the country. He brings from the Rebbe Rashab in Order 49, the Rebbe Rashab says, Kol Melech Gadol, every great king, Kamoy Medina Seinu, like our country, we're talking about Russia, the Anglia and England, the Tsarfas and France, the Ashkenaz and Germany, Bavada Yeshlam Sarim. They all have ministering angels. Ayin Shamba Arucha, when he talks about this idea. I once checked it up. It's a very fascinating thing that Rebbe Rashab says there, and I forgot. I didn't get a chance to check it up. And he brings also from the Tzemach Tzedek, on Arif 50, where the Tzemach Tzedek says that you can tell that the songs of the Arabs are more melancholy, and the songs of the Christians are more happy. And that has to do with the character, in our case. Now we continue. So what's the miracle? If the Rebbe says, a couple of years ago, in 1974, in Tafshin Lamed Daled, by Simchas Torah, it actually was 1973 still, Hischilu Chassidim Loshernes Negunish Medina Sarfas. Chassidim started singing by the Farbrengen the song of France, Nigan HaMapecha, the song of the revolution, the national anthem. With the words, they attached the words Aderes Vamuna L'chai Olam to that song, all the way through Vatihila Vataferes L'chai Olam, which means we're praising the Eibishter. Meshach Zman Katzal Acharze, a short period of time after this, Hisrachish Dava Pili B'Yaiser. An amazing thing happened. Medina Sarfas Choydol Shinui Benigun HaMedina Kaniskaliel. France changed the tempo of the song. They didn't change the song, but it was a few months later that they decided in France that they're going to change the tempo of the song. And then they kept it that way for a couple of years. In 1981, they actually switched it back. But for a while, it was sung with a different tempo, which was very unique because, again, they turned it back, but for a period of time, they were not satisfied with their song anymore. Suddenly, right after the Chassidim started singing it. So the Rebbe says these two things are connected. And the reason. Masbirim Ziknei HaChasidim, the elderly Chassidim explain. This is also the Rebbe. The Rebbe the Rebbe says the elderly Chassidim. Who are the elderly Chassidim who can explain something like this? It's the Rebbe that explains it, but the Rebbe doesn't take anything for himself. He says the elderly Chassidim. In any case, after the Nigun was converted to holiness, as we said earlier, the fact that song was sung by Chassidim because Chassidim who are living in France are taking Benemuse, they're taking that song, which is the soul of France, converting it to holiness. So what happened? The minister of France sensed it above. This changed below the tune of the nigun. They changed it down here subconsciously because up there, mitzadar regesh, because they had a hergish, a sense. It's no more their song, it's a song that belongs already to holiness. Nigun Chassidusi, it became a Chassidish nigun. Ashesharem Bezvaidis Chassidus is that song by Chassidish Farbrengens. Koil Gam Bezvaidis by Medina Sarfat, including at Farbrengens in France. With this we see in a revealed way. It's a Shiniyaki Tzaini, the tremendous change which happened in our generation compared to the generation of the Alter Rebbe. We took this nigun, Kedusha was converted to holiness. We're praising the Eibishter with it. Again, France was the opposite, denial of God. And that all power they took for themselves, like Napoleon. Here, no, the Deres, Namun, and all the Milas, the Eibishter. And we sing it with their same tenuah, same movements, Bezvaidus Chassidish and Chassidish Vabrengens. Which we speak Divrei Yisoides, Binyan Torah Mitzvahs, the Torah Chassidus, things that is that evoke, increase Torah Mitzvahs. It was the opposite of what France was all about. It was all about extinguishing Torah Mitzvahs, or not allowing Torah Mitzvahs to enter. And so much so, this has become so assimilated into the Chassidic a world that there are those she'inam yoidim klal she'nigan zeh nilkach me'isham. They don't even know that this nigan is a French national anthem. They think it's a Chassidish nigan me'ikara. Shemizman lezman, from time to time, is chatshim nigunim Chassidishim chadashim. There's new Chassidish nigunim. Ayadei elam mesugalim lechaber nigun toiv, to those who are able to be mechaber a good nigun. The kashezeh, in other words, from time to time, new Chassidish nigunim are created. So this seemed to be a new nigun that was created. The kashezeh meskabelei they atzibur v'shara moiseh betzibur. And when it's taka, the nigun is accepted. You know, sometimes you have nigunim that people try to compose and they get spit out. It doesn't click. but there's a nigun that finally takes root. So once that happens, nasu chelik manigunim hachassidiyusim, becomes one of the chassidish nigunim. So this nigun has become so chassidish already that there are people that don't even know that its origins, that it's a French national anthem. And the Rebbe compares it. Look at number, and this is also very interesting because we're learning this on tonight on Hey Tevis on Dida Notzach. So take a look at Order 52. Al Derech Napoleon's March. The Rebbe says this is similar to the other French song that we sing, which is Napoleon's March, where the Rebbe brings from the Sefer HaSichos, Sherebeinu Azak Bikesh. The Alter Rebbe asked, Shediyodiu Nigen HaMarch, She'imay Avru HaTzarfatim Es Gevula Shel Russia. That the Alter Rebbe wanted they should notify him the song, the march, in which the French crossed the border into Russia. And when they sang the nigun, the Napoleon's March, in front of the Alter Rebbe, again, this is not to be confused with the Deres V'Emunah. This is the other nigun, Napoleon's March. So the Alter Rebbe said that it's a nigun of nitzachon, it's a nigun of victory. And listen to this, V'siyom. The Alter Rebbe was in a deep dveikus. The Alter Rebbe said, again, he went into a dveikus, and then he said, Soif kol soif yedidon notzach. At the very end, we will win. In other words, the Alter Rebbe is referring to the fact that Napoleon is winning, and the fact that what? That he's now infiltrating and coming into Russia, and he's singing the march. But the Alter Rebbe was saying, in the end, we will win. So Pipashtis, when you read it, the Alter Rebbe L'chura was referring to that we will win, which means the Tsar will win and we'll push Napoleon out. But I think the Rebbe's reference over here to Soif Kol Soif was the Alter Rebbe fast-forwarded 7 generations to the generation of the Rebbe, to our times. And Soif Kol Soif means we will have the ultimate victory. That's the Soif Kol Soif. The very end will be Didan Notzach in France, and ultimately the Didan Notzach of Mashiach to conquer the entire world with Kedusha. And that's Hey Tevis is already Didan Notzach. Amazing. Madua Maskirin. Let's go back into the Sikha. Madua Maskirim Zeis Achshav. Why is this mentioned now? A Chassid can argue. He was educated that his whole inyan is limud Torah. When are you bringing him other things? The Rebbe is talking politics over here. I got some Maisa with France. Countries, transformation of the world. Tell me a vart on the parsha. Tell me something about parshas. What was this? Parshas Vayeishev. Tell us something. A beer. The Rebbe always in a fabrengen gives a beer in the parsha, in a Rashi, in a Rambam. The Rebbe spending a whole fabrengen talking about this koidel gam moifsim, and even to tell me miracles. Achem klal inim tafsim etzle makom kach. Doesn't even care about them. He wants to hear chedushay Torah. In Ereishis, the first thing is number one, we have to thank the Eibishter for the miracles that Hashem does. Particularly when we're standing still close to Chanukah, which, and then when the Rebbe spoke, this was before Chanukah, now we're after Chanukah, but we're still close to Chanukah, which the inyan of Chanukah is publicizing the miracle. Even if you're going to argue, even if you can argue and say that the rest of the year you don't have to have such emphasis on publicizing miracles, from this itself that you see that Chanukah and Purim were designated for it is a sign that other times you don't have to be busy with miracles. But in the days of Chanukah, that's for sure, that in the days of Chanukah you have to publicize a miracle. We can say it's not only the miracle of Chanukah, but it's all the miracles. Not only the nace of the war and the nace of Chanukah, but to publicize the miracle with all the miracles that the Eibishter does for Yidden. For those who grew up singing Ma'os Tzur, which I did, even though it's not Minhag Chabad to sing Ma'os Tzur. So if you take a look, Ma'os Tzur, we just light the Chanukah candles and we sing Ma'os Tzur. And what is Ma'os Tzur? It's like five pieces of stanzas, 5 pieces of poetry, where in each paragraph speaks about all the miracles that happened to the Jewish people. We go through Yetzias Mitzrayim and Purim and everything that happened until the Nes Chanukah. Why is it? Because Parsum and Nisa, you're supposed to publicize all the miracles. And here's the Rebbe saying, but there's something else. In addition to the fact that Chanukah you have to publicize, and therefore we can say all the miracles, including this miracle. But the main thing is, this is the Geya to Mashiach Tzidkenu. Why? to recognize and to thank and to give thank you to the Eibishter Nisim Shuois on the miracles that he does. In addition to this, that you have to be makar tova, you have to show gratitude. This is negayah to the coming of Mashiach. Why? The Gemara says, the Eibishter wanted to make Chizkiyahu Mashiach. The Midas Adin said in front of the Eibishter, Chizkiyahu shasiso le'kol anisim alalu, Chizkiyahu, that you've done all these miracles to him. Shenitzel misancherev and esrape mecholya, he was saved from the sancherev and he was healed. V'lo yom hashira lefanecha taseu Mashiach. He didn't sing shira and you're going to make him Mashiach, and that's why Chizkiyahu was not Mashiach, or maybe one of the reasons he was not Mashiach. So it's amazing. So the Rebbe says, therefore, it's negayah persumanis. But do you realize what's going on over here? In this one sikha, we're seeing two inyanim. Number one, I told you the dialogue that the Medrash says between Mashiach and the Jewish people is mamish what the dialogue that happens in this sikha. Number two, what the second thing is, that the Rebbe in this sikha is saying, listen, if we're holding right now by Biyas Mashiach, and Nasi Hador, as the Rebbe said many times, the Rebbe says Mashiach Shebedor, and so the Rebbe wants to avoid that inyan. So the Rebbe says we have to be publicized this inyan, so it should not be like Chizkiyahu that the Eibishter could not make him Mashiach. It's very interesting. Al Piza Muvam bin Yaneinu. That the Persuma Nisa that the Eibishter does in our times, this is Negeya to bringing Mashiach in Poyol Mamish. From this comes an amazing Hayra. We're holding already after all in Yanav Agula, and the Gula didn't come. So it's very, very appropriate. Lastly, we should be publicizing miracles. The Farsim Eitel Atzmoy to be Mefarsim by yourself, Eitel Azulas and to other people. Makam in every place, as Anisim Shakadosh Baruch Hu Oisei Imanu, the miracles that the Eibishter does with us, Metoich Yediyah, in the knowledge, Shebezek Shura Gila Mitzvah Vashlema, that the Gula Mitzvah Vashlema. That's why it's also very important. And I'm going to speak about that in a few moments, that it's not enough to just stop in Tafshin Nun Beis and say what the Rebbe said, but we have to look at the last 27 years, or from Tafshin Nun Beis, 27 years, and find the miracles that have happened in the last 27 years, and particularly the miracles, the increased miracles that are going on in the world the last 2-3 years that are just unbelievable. And if you're going to hear, and mamish what the Rebbe is saying over here in an unbelievable way, we're going to get to that in a moment. And how much more so in the days of Chanukah? Its inyan is persuma niskal. We should use these days out. In addition to all the inyanim of Chanukah, we should make Chassidic Fabrengens. Kol yom, what to call it a party, the Rebbe says, meaning to call it anything that's called in that country. To speak Divrei Torah, and Nigla the Torah, Pnimius HaTorah. Well, the Kabbalah chlotes toivis b'chol inyan Torah mitzvahs, to accept only chon ba'oifer shal moisav v'oid ve'ikr l'daber be'inyan persuma nisa, to speak about the miracles that are happening. Hanisim bayamim mehem bazman hazeh. And the last piece the Rebbe says is be'ikr. Now there are Yidden here that are from France, so we're going to ask them to sing, and they're opening the way for Mashiach. Okay, I just want to conclude and say something which I can't push this off for next week. It's just one nakuda, which I think is unbelievable based on what we learned over here. The Rebbe just said over here that the bitter of the lowest of the low, which is France, comes from and is rooted in the Gilui of Etzem, which is 770. So Re'ezeh Davar Pella, see something that's just unbelievable. I spoke about this a lot already, over here and all the places I've spoken, but I think its main source is coming from right over here. The last 2 years, we're witnessing in the United States a complete v'nahapachu, a total transformation of government, in a manner that's stunning the entire world, in a manner that is a total miracle. It doesn't make any sense. If you took a look at the current president, he had absolutely zero chances to become president. At the time of his inauguration, he started off with, I think, 17 Republican contenders. And everybody said that he was the joke, he was the comedy, he was literally the laughing stock of all of them. And in an unbelievable, unprecedented way, he won them all in the debate. He didn't win the debates. It was like he just won the primary after primary after primary after primary. They kept on falling out more and more and more, were falling off. And finally, when it came, and everybody predicted that he wouldn't win this election, and then he won it through miracles. And what has he done for the Jewish people? We know. even just if we concentrate on the fact that he released Rubashkin from the horrible travesty against him. He saved the Jewish people by stopping the Iran deal. We don't have to be over here politically correct. I'm speaking on the phone over here with Chassidim. Let's not be silly. Let's not be ridiculous. When we're looking at I know because we deal with Chabad houses, and most of our community are so brainwashed I would say brainwashed, let's say, but so indoctrinated with liberal ideas that and make them turn them into this big, massive, horrible monster, and so on and so forth. It sometimes seeps into even from Yidden and even Chabad Yidden and this that we don't see. We don't see the unbelievable, the threat that Obama had made when he made this Iran deal, which literally this is the same Purim, this is the same story. They want to kill out 6 million Jews. They had in 3 years they would have had nuclear weapons and they had no restraints anymore. And they gave $150 billion to do that. I mean, it's the most mamish, it's the entire world. It's Haman HaRasha, it's Achashverosh in that case, taking off his ring and giving it to Haman. It's unbelievable. So he went and he pulled out of that deal against the whole world. He went and he announced Yerushalayim. He goes and he frees Rubashkin. He totally kicked the Palestinians out of Washington. He shut down their whatever embassy, whatever they had in Washington. He defunded them completely. He completely lifted Israel in the UN in an unbelievable, unprecedented way. There's still tremendous animosity and hatred and all that, but all that's unbelievable. I mean, we don't have eyes to see that this is mamish incredible. Now, here's an amazing thing. Everybody knows that he's coarse. That's why people have a hard time with him. He's a coarse person. He's not refined. He speaks like no other president. He's very unpresidential. The way he speaks, it's in a sense grub. It's not the most refined president that we've seen. He himself knows that. And one time I watched one of his rallies where he says, okay, let me be presidential. And he says, how boring would I be when I'll be president? And he starts becoming president. It's really funny. But he acts and he says and he behaves and he tweets. It's crazy. So you see, he's coarse. And that's why every sophisticated human being is a little bit embarrassed to have him as the president of the United States. So that too is a proof that this is all divine and this is all part of Moshiach's avodah in the world. But take a look at the most amazing thing. What was the year that he became president? It was the year 5777. The Rebbe is saying that the 7, the Shleimus Bidira Olam, is when the coarsest thing, the Rebbe is speaking about France. But why should he leave it only by France? The Rebbe actually spoke of many places. America's Chatzi Kader Atachtin is the low. France, in terms of its animosity towards, against force king, against Kedusha, but America is also, in terms of geographic, it's in the bottom of the world. It's a klipa, it's a lower klipa. America, that's why, the Friedrich Rebbe had to say America's nicht andish. And here comes, in the United States, from a president, in the year 577, again, related to 770. And an amazing thing. President Trump, on the day of his inauguration, January 20th, he was 70 years old, 7 months and 7 days old. Look up his birthday, you can calculate it, you'll see. Then in 2016, it was already, in 2016, January 20th, it was actually 2017 already, January 20th when he becomes president. And it's exactly, he's 70 years old, 7 days, 7 months and 7 days. 777 on the year 577. That which is coarse and represents coarseness, not edel, it even comes from German descent. So you're talking about low, and yet it's crazy. He's not inspired, he's not refined. He's synchronized with the Eibush as well. Is that not crazy? Is that not what the Rebbe is talking about in this Sikh? The Rebbe says, open up our eyes and see Geula. It's unbelievable. And the world doesn't know what to do with him. They're going crazy. But he's changing, literally, he's mamish changing everything. And if we as Lubavitchers would get more Moshiachdik and get more involved in the Geula, things would speed up much faster, I have no doubt. We hold the key. We mamish hold the key. It's important for us to appreciate this and to understand this. There's a lot more to talk about this, but that's just the Nakuda, which I felt is so, it's screaming from the very pages of the Sefer. from the book. Now, by the way, I'll share with you something really, really, really awesome just to conclude. That I came across. I said, okay, this is already my own remez. And again, the other thing is also my own, but I think the other is mamish like taken from what the Rebbe is saying in the Sikha. But the other thing I found in Biurei HaZohar from the Alter Rebbe, in which he explains the Zohar. And the Zohar says that all the letters of the Aleph Beis come before the Eibishter. When the Eibishter creates the world, the letters of the Aleph Beis come before Hashem. And Hashem is deciding exactly who he's using for creation and so on and so forth. It says that the Tess arrived in front of Hashem, and it says that Hashem yells at the Tess. And literally, go by Hashem yells at, no. First Hashem talks to the Tess. And Hashem tells the Tess, go get the Reish. Go bring me the Reish. And the Tess says, Reish? The Tess almost flips out. What do you mean, Reish? You want me to partner up with the Reish? How can I? Tess stands for Toiv, and Reish stands for Ra. So how in the world do you expect me to connect with the Reish when I'm good and he's Ra? So it says in the Zohar, the Eibishter yells at the Tess. And the Eibishter says, Tess, the world that I want to create, the human being that I want to create is made up of both of you, Yetzer Tov and Yetzer Hara. And therefore, my intention is that the two of you should be together. The Alter Rebbe goes on to explain by Arichos that this is the whole idea of the birur of the Eitz Hadas Tovera. That the ultimate birurim, this is the avoid of the birurim, that the Tess has to fix the Reish. And eventually, when it's all over, the Tess and the Reish are together. Unbelievable shyness in that mimer, Biurei HaZohar. It's really Biurei HaZohar from the Mittler Rebbe, but it's the Alter Rebbe's memory. And then it suddenly occurred to me, it shook me to the core. So if we're talking about the Rebbe says Avodas HaBirurim is over, we're finished already everything, and now it's expressed in France. And as I'm telling you, 5777, it's expressed in this fellow called Donald Trump, who is doing unbelievable things for Hachana, for preparing, and part of. It's clear without a shadow of a doubt, an agent, a messianic. He doesn't know it, but he's a power being led by Mashiach Tzadkenu and doing unbelievable things in the world. And guess what? His name, Trump, as he's known by, is Tess and Reish together. Again, it's B'derech Remez. But when you see so many things clicking together, so many unbelievable things coming together, we have to realize as Mashiach is no more an abstract Indian. It's mamish here. The only thing that's lacking is the final Hizgalos of Mashiach Tzedkenu, that we should see him with our Gashmiistic eyes. But we have to be wanting to look for him and see him in order for him to reveal himself. May the Eibishter help us that this great Didan Natzach of Hey Tevish should be already the ultimate, like the Alter Rebbe says, Soif Kol Soif should be the Didan Natzach, and we should explode in the next 24 hours, or we shouldn't have to wait till the end of the 24 hours, with the biggest simcha of ever, Simchas Olam Al Rosham, the ultimate Didan Natzach, third Beis HaMikdash, the Yizgalus of the Rebbe Melech HaMashiach. May it be taken from Miyad Mamish now for the whole world to see and for everyone to hear. A good Yom Tov.